Let's go back, though, to David Cameron visiting South East England to promote his new pot of money for potholes. He joins me on the programme now. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Great to be with you.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. First of all, Surrey's bill for fixing roads after the floods is £15 million and rising. Now, the government's currently giving the county council about £5 million. Can you, now you're on the programme, promise Surrey will get that missing £10 million?
I can't make you that promise, but what I can say is, as you say, you've got the 5.3 million already. That's, as it were, in the bank, as they say on a game show, and you can spend that, including on potholes. And today what we're making available is a £168 million fund. That's for the whole country, and Surrey can bid for a share by making what we call a pothole pledge. It's got to put its application in.
So we can ask for it, but we won't necessarily get it. That's what you're saying.
Well, there's a good chance, Surrey being an important and large county with a lot of important roads, if you put in a good bid, there's a good chance, with 168 million for the whole country, there's a good chance Surrey would get a good share of the spending. Now, 168 million, as I've said, funds mending of 3 million potholes, so this sort of money can make a real difference.
But you're not prepared to make a commitment that that whole £15 million will be available?
Well, it's that this money has to be bid for on the basis of the quality of the bid. If Surrey put in a good bid and say, look, we're going to find a way of mending more roads and more potholes using this money, there's every chance that they can get a, multi-million pound award. But I can't prejudge that because they've got to put in the bid. I think what people want to know is at a time of tight finances that when extra money like this is made available, that it's made available for an important priority like dealing with potholes. Because, of course, you've got a lot of people driving to work or cycling or motorcycling to work in Surrey, and when they hit potholes, they damage their cars, it costs them money, and I'm trying to help hard-working families.
And, of course, Surrey has some of the busiest roads in the country, though, so hopefully that they would be considered a priority.
Well, I think there's every chance. If I look down the list of the local authority allocations that Surrey got the last lot of money under, Surrey got 5 million compared to, say, West Berkshire that got £1.5 million, or Oxfordshire, the county I represent, you got almost £1 million more than we did. So, these things are decided fairly.
Let's move on to some other issues, because we've got limited time and lots to get through.
Sure.
Now, let's talk about the flooding. Over 2,000 people flooded out of their homes in Surrey 2 months ago. Now, the experts want a flood defence scheme for the lower River Thames. The government's pledged only half the money needed. Isn't that what we pay our taxes for? What happens if it floods again?
Well, we are looking very carefully at this flood alleviation scheme. It's an expensive scheme, but what I've done is I've put distinct ministers in charge of coordinating the response in different parts of the country, and Philip Hammond, who's a local MP, is responsible for this area of the country, talking to all the local organisations and local councils and trying then to put together for the government the best recommendation of the things that we need to fund for the future.
Let's talk about fracking, which is a huge issue locally. Now, you want to change the trespass law to let companies frack under private land. This is after Hamid Al-Fayed went to court over drilling under his estate at Oxted. Now, the polls suggest that fracking is getting less popular with the public. Are you not worried about the political impact in Sussex and Surrey?
Well, I think the truth about this is there is an opportunity if we can recover shale gas reserves from our country. I think it can lead to more jobs. I think it can lead to competitive energy prices, which are very important for us. It can make us more energy secure. I see what's happening in America, where the shale gas revolution is helping to improve their economy, keep energy bills down, make them more energy independent. We should be trying to do that here. I think the truth is that it's only when we have got some unconventional shale gas wells up and running that people can go and see that there will be greater confidence that this is a safe, secure technology. I'm absolutely convinced that it is. But we need to make some progress.
Are you listening to all those people, though, that don't feel it is, the huge strength of feeling?
Yes, absolutely. I'm listening. Of course, this is a big national debate, and I'm a politician. I'm interested in big national debates. I'm listening very carefully to what people are saying. I think there's a lot of concerns being put forward that actually, when you look at what's happened in America and other countries that have gone for unconventional gas, there are a lot of concerns that we can actually deal with, and we do have a very strict set of licensing obligations and environmental obligations in this country. There's no question of unsafe wells going ahead. But as I say, I think when people see, I went to visit recently on the Nottinghamshire-Lincolnshire border some conventional gas and oil wells where we're drilling for oil and gas and have been for many years. Local people there are much more understanding about this issue and calmer about this issue because they've seen it on their doorstep before.
So you're suggesting those that are protesting locally are not understanding or calm enough?
No, what I'm saying is, look, of course there are concerns, and of course people have absolutely a right to raise those concerns, but we are a democratic country with a proper planning system, and I believe we should work through that planning system, and as wells are built, and I believe they will be built, people will be able to see the reality rather than the scare stories that they're currently hearing. In addition to that, there's
so fracking, by what you're saying, it will all go ahead. People are wasting their time then, are they, by protesting against it?
No, not at all. We have a planning system in this country which listens to people's protests and concerns before making decisions. That's how our democracy works. So no one's wasting their time by protesting or having an argument. But I'm joining in that argument, if you like, on the side of saying this is a technology that I think our country should be getting on board. And as these wells are built and built safely, I think people see the local benefits.
Let's move on to some other issues. As I said, there's a lot to get through.
Make one point, make one point, which is that local communities will get 1% of the revenues, not the profits, but 1% of the revenues. That could be as much as £10 million per well. So a big community benefit from seeing this technology go ahead. But it will only go ahead if it's safe, and it will only go ahead if it goes through all the proper planning consent.
Well, let's talk about the community in Crawley. Now, Labour in Crawley say you've done far too little to tackle poor wages and working conditions. In Hastings, unemployment's worse than average. Are you concerned about these marginal seats?
Well, of course I'm concerned, but when I look across the southeast and look at places like Crawley specifically, we see a huge increase in the number of people in work. Since I became Prime Minister, in the southeast of our country, there are 216,000 more people in work. The number of people claiming unemployment benefit is down by almost 50,000. We've got 230,000 people who have been training as apprentices since this government started. So we are seeing an economic recovery. Yes, we've seen that recovery in increased jobs rather than increased wages up to now. I think we're beginning to see signs of wages running ahead of inflation. But I think the most important thing for our country is to get our country back to work.
What about if people...
That's exactly what's happening.
What about if people can't get to work? Let's talk about landslips, which hit the Hastings to Charing Cross line this winter. Now, Tory MP Amber Rudd wants refunds or discounts for commuters who were very badly affected by that. Do you agree?
Well, I think Amber's got a very strong case, and she's a very strong local MP, and I think she's right to lobby on behalf of her constituents, and I'm sure that the train operating company will want to look at that very carefully. We did see with these floods a lot of damage to key infrastructure, and we're going to look very carefully at all our rail lines, all our key infrastructure, and see what we can do to strengthen it.
Let's just finish, because we've run out of time now, by talking about the incident with the jellyfish. Is it true that you ran out of the water in a rather unmanly fashion, shouting, ouch, ouch, ouch?
No, I hope that bit isn't true. It is, I was stung by a jellyfish. It was a very small one. But as I said to my wife afterwards, it was a Wednesday at the time, and I'm used to dealing with slightly red invertebrates on a Wednesday lunchtime.
So it was just an ordinary incident for you then?
No, it was a small...
What does it feel?
That was a very bad joke. I'm sorry about that.
What does it feel like being stung by a jellyfish then? Even if it's only a small one?
I got a bit of a rash on my arm, but it went away in about an hour. It didn't hurt very much, but it was just when you're swimming along, you suddenly get a bit of a sting. It's a bit of a shock.
And was your wife very sympathetic to your predicament?
Not particularly, no. She's seen me. I've been stung by these things before. It's an occupation. I love swimming in the sea, and it was really nice to have some time swimming around. And I knew there were some jellyfish in there, so I was taking a risk, which didn't really pay off. But it didn't hurt that much. It was all right. And I didn't run out of the sea shouting ouch, ouch, I'm sure. As ever, when I go on holiday, sadly, there are cameras everywhere. So it
conjures up a rather wonderful image, though, doesn't it? Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us on the programme. David Cameron speaking there. Just some of the local issues that he was turning his attention to. Unfortunately, ran out of time there, but very good to talk to him.